Hello and welcome back to part two of us rating Super League teams and the season that they've done so far. We've reviewed 6 teams already. If you haven't listened to it, go back and check it out. Spoiler alert, it's the top three and the bottom three we've done. So there you go. And now we're going to do the rest. I'm of course joined by captain of Lancashire Tennis Seniors. He wanted me to say that. He said that before we recorded. Just going to get that out there. So he's of course Andy from the Onion Rugby League podcast.
Hi, mate. And that only came about because I was munching on a cookie that was left over from the buffet at the end of the matches today.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here. I should be having a cookie and milk before bed.
You should be, yeah.
Not you. But
yeah, absolutely.
But of course, there's
only
only one other place that we can start our podcast on right now. It is, of course, talking about Leeds. And Leeds we're going to keep quite short because not only are we on a time constraint, because Andy's got important business stuff to deal with, but we're also going to release a Leeds and Warrington deep dive a bit later on in a couple of weeks. So, check it out there and then. But Leeds, I've given them a B. They've had major improvement under Brad Arthur. Connor's been class throughout the season, but did go missing in certain games, as Sean Wayne alluded to earlier on. Miller's been improved, but I still have huge doubts about him. I don't think you can win a trophy with him at fullback, personally. I think he's got too many weaknesses that'll be exploited. 12-month extension's a huge coup for Brad Arthur. They needed it. I think they were overachieving for this squad that they've got, which is why I put them as a B+.
Yeah.
Leeds need to be a powerhouse again.
Yes. It's a weird one, this, because when we looked at as we said in the last episode, when we looked at the gradings that you give it on the club, where they're at, where they should be, how they've done. It's not just saying, oh, well, they've finished fourth. Because if you look at Leeds and you say they finished fourth, is that acceptable for a club like Leeds? They'd be expecting better, I think, wouldn't they? They'd be expecting top three, club like Leeds Rhinos. But where they've been has been a massive improvement, because since they last won it in 2015?
2015.
Those years soon rack up in any sport. You look at football, you look at United 2013 since they won the Premier League. These seasons.
2017, the last time they won it. Sorry.
At Leeds.
Yes.
Yeah. 2017. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they won it. They won it 2015. Then they finished ninth. Then they finished second. And then
and they beat Castleford then in the final, didn't they? After Castleford won the league leaders. That's right.
Yeah, I went that game as well.
Yeah. So, but they've also had seasons where they've completely missed out on the playoffs. Yes. You've just said then the year after they finished ninth.
And then they finished ninth after they won it last time. Eighth, fifth, 8th, 4th.
Yeah, I mean, they were in the middle eights at one time when they had that system. I mean, ridiculous. But so where they are now, okay, I think they've had a solid rebuild. I think Brad Arthur, as you said, has got to take a lot of credit for that. Not just in the coaching, but the recruitment and the way that he's got the best out of people like Jake Connor, which no one seems to have been able to do for all his career.
So I think that's a massive, really well.
That's a massive plus. I was disappointed last year in the way that they've signed people like Brodie Croft and Andy Ackers in a big blaze of publicity, and I don't think either of them particularly worked well for them last year. Ackers, I still think, has struggled. He's been relegated behind Jared O'Connor. But I think Croft has played really well this season alongside Connor. I think that's not just down to Connor. I think Croft has played really well. And they've had one or two others that are thinking, what's happened to you? I don't think Harry Newman has particularly played that well. I think a couple of the signings have been questionable. I mean, I would like to know, a serious question, what does Chris Hankinson give that Riley Lum didn't?
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. There's things like that I'm not convinced of. But from where they were, and now suddenly they're touted about as potential grand final winners.
Yeah.
I think he's excellent. So I've given them a B plus just because I think of where they were and where they are. And that's probably a little bit generous,
Yeah.
but I've given them in terms of like where they
Where
were.
they've been. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
I
Two
think
eighth
so.
place
Yeah,
finishes.
I think the
Yeah.
pack is okay. I think what's his name, O'Donnell, James. Yeah, he's the dream team.
Yeah,
I think
McDonald.
McDonald, not O'Donnell. Yeah, McDonald. Sorry. I think he's fortunate to get in that.
Yeah, I think he's done well this year, to be fair.
He's done well, but dream team material, not entirely convinced. I think what's the young? I'm just trying to. I haven't got the notes down for Leeds. What
Cassell, the prop.
the young
For you.
prop?
Castell or Castle or whatever his
Yeah,
name is.
Castle. Yeah, Spencer. Is it Spencer?
I think so, yeah.
He's looks as though he's got a really bright future.
Yeah.
Um,
They've always got good youth.
so they've all and that you're right. They're one of the few clubs with a really really strong academy, aren't they? When you look at the number of players that they've produced over the years, I think it'd be interesting next year because I can't see Brad Arthur staying beyond next year.
Depends on his son.
I think so. Yeah, I think they've done well to get him for another year.
I think his son coming over is the reason why he stayed, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. So I'd be surprised if he stayed longer than that. But I think it gives them time to build next year towards top 3.
Yeah.
And I think if they can build towards top 3 next year, and I think his time will be looked at as a real success. I think to putting them back on the map.
Yeah, that's fair enough, really.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
can't disagree on that, and we'll go a little
yeah.
bit more on that episode as
Just
well. I think B's about right.
yeah. Just on just one more question. Do you think how far do you think they'll go? Will they get assuming they finish 4th? Assuming they beat Saints 4th to 5th.
Yeah.
Will they get through that?
I think they've got a chance against OKR, like I said in the last time,
So will they
because
beat
they'll throw it
Saints?
about. No.
Okay.
I think Saints have their number, and that's
Yeah.
not just
Okay.
me being biased. I'll get into that in my
Yeah.
Saints summary.
Okay.
But yeah. But Catalan, 9th spot, I gave him an E. Money wasted, coach sacked, mass clear out. Reason they scraped into the pass grade is because of their youth. I think they've got a lot of good young talent coming through. That they beat under 19s French side beat the English under
Yeah.
19s. That's a huge
Yeah.
sign of
Oh,
progress.
it's brilliant.
They've got to try and keep them, stop them from going to the dark side, as we call it on this podcast. The other code for those that aren't aware.
I totally agree. I've given them a D. And I think that's probably generous again.
The recruits have failed to live up to their expectations. You look at Farge, who's had a shocking 2 years. Kiri, Partington, rumouredly not settled.
Where they've done well in the past, they've always had this exceptional overseas halfback.
Yeah.
Going back to even people like Scott Durrow, for example.
Yeah.
Then they had James Maloney, who was different class. They've had Mitchell Pearce. And then I don't think but he's gone back as a coach now for next year, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, he's assistant
So
coach.
Mitchell Pearce has gone back. I think the Kiri experiment in that context hasn't really worked.
No. Should have kept to being retired.
Yeah, I think that's not helped. They seem to sign a gluttony of wingers before the season started.
Yeah.
Which I never quite understood why they needed so many wingers.
They did lose 2.
Yeah, but they seem to sign about 5. The young fullback that's come in, he's been excellent. He's been excellent.
Mr. Double-barreled name.
Yeah, Yeah,
I'm not even attempting
no,
to.
fair, but you know him. Yeah, he's been
Yeah,
excellent. He's been really, really good. I think he's been the star. He's been the guiding light for them this year. He's been the real
yeah,
talisman for them. I think he's been
yeah.
excellent.
I really like Laguerre at centre as well. I really rate him,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I love Cesar Rouge. I like the way he plays
Yeah.
rugby.
And I did say on our pod last week that I was hankering for the days of the TSO watch so that Thiessen could win one.
Yes.
So he's looked good though. He's done all right.
Yeah,
Um,
I really like the young talent that's coming through, and I hope they give them
so
more opportunities as well next year.
thoughts on the new coach?
Well, this was what I was going to go on to. Pulling the trigger on Steve Mack was a tough goal, but probably the right one at the right time. His successor, time will tell. Like, it's an amateur coach, it's a rookie coach again. You're putting a lot of. Yes, you're giving him the likes of Mitchell Pearce, you're giving him the likes of Mickey McAlorum, but these are all rookie coaches, and it's just a pool of people who are still finding their feet in the coaching world. They'll make mistakes together,
Mm.
but really, you want someone there to be kind of guiding you away from mistakes as well.
They've done well the last couple of weeks. They've shown real signs that they're getting things together. But is that because the league's done and
Play for a
dusted for most of the
contract.
positions? Yeah, and people are leaving people out because they know they've got bigger games coming ahead, etc. I'm not quite sure. I think the big surprise that they had in the last couple of weeks, which was a really really good result, which was nothing to do with that, was when they went to Leeds and won, and they beat Leeds.
Yeah,
That was a really
absolutely.
really positive result for them. That would give them something to build on. I
And
think
Leeds were really,
that was
really off that day, though.
yes, which has cost them third place.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that was a really good good position.
They've
A good game.
they've also next year gone for the Penrith Panthers. Basically, whole if you've got a connection with Penrith Panthers, you're going to Catalan next year. Charlie Staines. They even were linked with Blake Laurie this year. They've signed Sonny Luke.
Yeah.
They've signed the other young lad, the second row. I can't pronounce his name. He's got like an Eastern European type name. They've signed about four or five players that have a connection to Penrith in some way on the youth setup.
There's still an attractive proposition for players, aren't there? Because of the lifestyle and the weather and things like
Yes.
that. There's still an attractive proposition. But when you finished, when you finished ninth in a 9-team league,
Mm-hmm.
that's not great. No matter from that
No.
sort of level where they're at. I think they've had off the field problems this year as well in terms of the wranglings with Super League and the RFL over the central funding, and they get hammered, don't they, on having to pay everyone's expenses and things like that. They're always fighting an uphill battle in that respect, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes that does have an effect on the club as a whole, and
Absolutely.
perhaps going forward will have an effect on them in actually what they can spend, particularly
Mm-hmm.
on marquee players as well.
Yeah.
So that could have an effect on them long term as well.
Yeah, because they'll only ever have two marquee spots,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah. But
Um,
I hope they're here to stay.
so do I. I'm going to skip. No, I'm not. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to go St. Helens, but we're going to try keep it brief because we could go on for hours about this. I've given them a D plus, and I think I've been very generous on the D plus. Record versus big teams absolutely abysmal. We're now nearly on 20 games without Saints winning against one of the three main sides. Still seem to be play and able to beat Leeds, which is why I've put them to beat Leeds next week. Challenge Cup run ended so soon after it began. Not challenged at all for silverware, which is a minimum expectation for Saints. Recruiting and retention has been complete opposite to Lee and really been a thorn to Paul Wellens' side. They've just had square pegs in round holes. Like, coach doesn't seem on the outside anyway to know what his spine is. Feels to me like when Lamb was at, which is what I alluded to earlier, at Wigan, and they had the field French conundrum, and they didn't know where
Mm.
to play French,
Yeah,
and they
they
kind of
stumbled on it in
stumbled
the end, didn't
across
they?
him
Yeah,
being
yeah,
six, which is what I think Wellens is trying to stumble across this season. With, I think they've had 12 halfback partnerships.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Attack again fails to excite in big games. Bigger worry than this this season though for me is the next one or two. Recruitment seems nothing and losing players. Add on
I
that.
don't think I can add much more to that. I think you've said everything. I've given them a D and not a D plus because I think it's been appalling. And the other thing that I would say is that on the whole, I think Saints are the most boring team to watch in Super League.
Yeah.
And that's a ridiculous state of affairs for a club the size and the quality and the stature of Saints.
Yeah, if they're against a big team, it's abysmal to watch. If they are against a Huddersfield, they'll throw all of the attacking flair they want and they'll put 50 points on them.
It just flatters to deceive. So the playoff game against Leeds this week, you can sort of guarantee I don't think there won't be many points, will there?
No.
You know, that's going to be tackle your hearts out and see how far that defence takes us, because we know we're not going to score more than 12 points, for example. So, you know, that's the case against big teams, isn't it? That they can't score more than 2 tries.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's been the case for the... And this isn't... What I would say is that it's a quick downhill slide, because this is the 3rd year of this now.
Yeah.
And that's... And
3
the
full
longer
Super
that
League seasons.
Yeah, the longer that slide continues, the more difficult it is to get back up there.
But this year and last year, they haven't competed. They haven't competed, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Whereas at least in the first year, they competed. They finished joint top. They were semi-finals. Whereas last 2 years, they haven't competed on any fronts.
So will they have a view then? Will they have a view that they finished 6th last year and 5th this year with more points? Would they argue that that's an improvement? Forget the fact that we've played Salford 3 times. But would they argue that's an improvement?
I think from the outside looking in, that there would be some people at the club that would view that as an improvement, which isn't an improvement in St Helens' standard.
And similar question then, in last year, they pulled out all the stops and just got beat by a single point in Warrington in the first round of the playoffs. If they get past Leeds again, will that be looked at as a bigger improvement again then? So now, I think it will. But they've had 3 years now without any finals. Never mind winning anything. There's been no finals.
Yeah.
Surely that becomes unacceptable.
Absolutely, it does. For St Helens' standard.
Yeah.
And I think if they've given the coaching team that he wanted Lee Breers. Lee Breers has come in and the attack has hardly changed.
No.
So everyone that was blaming the Frenchman, as he was nicknamed on Facebook and forums, it probably wasn't him that was the issue.
No, that's right. You wonder how much he's being stifled by the head coach in that respect then. But I think the big thing that you've mentioned before, the recruitment and the retention in particular,
Davies Hurrell,
woeful. A long extension for Lomax. I think the signing of Saylor has been a poor one, and it's not even his fault. Because he's not a bad player. But they don't need him, because he can only play at fullback. He can't play anywhere else, which then has an effect on Wellesby, because he gets moved about and he doesn't want to get moved about. And Saints are insistent on saying that Wellesby's the best fullback in the competition.
But they haven't even tried Saylor back at 6 since the early rounds.
No,
they haven't.
But it's a conundrum. Do you think you can fit Wellesby and Saylor into the same team?
I believe if you had a 7, Saylor can play 6. You look at the games that Jack's played six. His defense is miles worse than Sailor's in the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the line, and Sailor is not the best defensively. But if
So
you put a 7 that can organise the kicking and do that, and let Sailor run, and have Jack popping out the back, if you say that Jack Wellesby can't play with someone that plays a similar style to him, then your issue isn't with the other player; it's with
no.
Jack.
So are you talking about George Whitby there then?
Yes.
And what do you then do with Harry Robertson?
Well, Harry Robertson stays at centre until he's ready to go into 6.
Right. Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
So long term, it would be Whitby and Robertson in the halves.
Absolutely.
And that
Depending
would then
on
be at the
Robertson's
end of either
distribution.
Sailor or Wellesby's contract, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And depending on which one wants to go to the NRL, depending on which one Saints team that they want to keep, whichever one is. But if you as a player have to learn to play with other players, it's a team sport. You can't be the one outlet. If you are the one attacking outlet, then the attack won't function because defenses can read that so quickly.
Yeah. Just final thing for me on Saints. Next season looks a worry because they're not being linked with anybody. They all seem to fall through, but the amount of players that are out of contract and leaving, and the re-signing of people like potentially like Parsi, where does that leave Saints next year?
It leaves them in a massive hole because the players that are leaving, your Morgan Knowleses, your James Bell, the players we're being linked with are a downgrade on both of them players.
Absolutely.
So if they're a downgrade on them, and then you add to that the likes of Iggy getting an extension, which signals that he's still around the starting 17, that's a worry. Or they've not learned from Hurrell's mistake, or they've not learned from Ben Davies' mistake. They've not learned from these things they're not learning from. And for me, I've said all throughout the season that questions need to be asked off the board. Everyone's asking questions of Paul Wellens and his coaching ability, but no one, or a very small lot of it, are questioning the likes of the CEO and those on the board.
I think that's a bigger issue.
They're in charge of who's brought into the club.
Yeah,
completely agree. Paul's obviously in the conversations of that, but they're ultimately the ones that pull the trigger.
I saw a podcast a few weeks ago where the CEO was on the bench with John Wilkin and Jenna Brooks, and he was talking about how they needed to ignore the outside noise, which is people like us, isn't it? It's fans, isn't it?
It's the fans.
And what I will say is that at Saints, that outside noise seems to be getting louder and louder.
And it will do.
Yeah.
And it will only grow with that when success doesn't come.
Yeah.
And talking about another club without success, the Warrington Wolves, they were in a final this year, unlike that. And I've put, given the money spent and the prestige of the coach, Sam the Stakeout Burgess, everyone... Did you not like that little nickname? Everyone expected a much better showing.
I'm going to tell you in a minute, but go on, yeah.
The vape-filled coach's box was filled with frustration this year, and not strawberry pink lemonade. In the end, they all just gave up, and it felt like the start. It felt like it all started on that night in Vegas.
Yeah, that's where it all went wrong, isn't it? When the coach is on a fucking Bronco with the Leona or whatever,
with a cigar in his mouth,
after being absolutely smacked like 40 whatever it was.
Oh, they scored like 4 tries at the end to make
that's right. But it was they did, didn't they? Yeah, but
it's like 48-28 or something like that.
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah, ridiculous. I've given them an E. It would have been an F.
I gave him
Well,
an F.
I've given them an E because they reached the Challenge Cup final. That's what's pushed them up.
Everything
I've
they did
given
after that, though, just
I've give the coach an A. Mainly because I'm looking out of the window in the garden and he stood there watching me. It's an A, Sam. Don't worry, you got an A, mate. Just A.
see in an A class as well.
He's gone. He's gone now in a cloud of smoke. It's all right. So he's like,
Does it smell of candy floss?
yeah. I wondered where that was coming from.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they've had a few injuries. I think losing Ashton was a massive blow for them and a massive blow for
Huge.
England, I think, as well.
Huge.
I think he's exceptional, and that's the biggest loss for the Ashes, I think, as well. It just doesn't strike me as having the coach doesn't strike me as having answers on how to get them out of this predicament.
Yeah, he doesn't.
When he speaks in his press conferences, and they ask him about performances and players and things like that. What I've noticed is he uses the word "they" a lot.
Yeah, not
Now,
we.
I think good coaches use the word "we"
We.
or "I."
It's a team.
Or, yeah. He uses the word "they." They need to understand this. Well, they need to do this. And it's like he sort of, this isn't me, distances himself from these sort of
because
situations.
he wants a job in Australia, so if he blames them, it's not his fault.
So, look at the last two teams that we've spoke about. How is it that they've had... I mean, Saints have been better. They've unarguably been better. But the coach is under so much pressure because he's not delivering what the fans want. And Saints fans want the coach out. And yet, Warrington, I don't mean Warrington fans, but yet what he's put in position there, he then gets linked with other jobs and interviews in the NRL.
Mental, innit? And so publicly comes out with it and just is like, yep, I'm having interviews there.
Which and that's what so how does that, if you're in that dressing room as a player, how does that make you feel when the coach is openly having dialogue with the other side of the world to try and get out of there? Because he doesn't want to be in Warrington. It's a paycheck for him. He's looking at that as a stepping stone. Well, I'll tell you what, if he doesn't get them sorted out, his stepping stone will be backwards, not forwards.
No. Exactly that.
And his reputation in Australia and getting these jobs in Australia is pure and simple as a player, not a coach.
No, exactly.
And it's two different jobs. Two completely different jobs.
You can't just live off your reputation for what you did as a player, as a coach. I mean, coaches have found that out so often.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's still going off that. He's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter what I do over here because I'm a god over there, so I'll get a job.
That's the thing. But it's a completely different job how you do that. Who did Christian Wolf play for? Who did Justin Albrook play for?
Penrith and Newcastle.
Would you say he was
Newcastle?
Would you say he was a household name?
No, he played 7 or 9 games for Penrith or whatever.
There you go. So. Christian Wolf as a player?
No, I don't think he played as a player in top level.
Completely different job.
Yeah, hugely.
Completely different job, and I think that's the problem that Warrington have got themselves in. Yeah. And then they were talking about, when the other week, one of his press conferences, he was asking about his future, and he was saying, well, we've been talking about me staying longer, but that's not what you want to hear as the press, is it?
Yeah, no, it was like...
I don't think all the fans want to hear either.
No, fans definitely don't. I can tell you that.
But they've had no direction. Yes, they've had some injuries. They've had Williams out for a little while now, haven't they, as well, which has a massive impact out on them. But they've had no direction. They've had no confidence. They've had no structure. They've had no passion.
Yeah.
Some of the defeats they've had have not just been defeats. They've given up. They've been woeful.
Lost against Salford.
Yeah, that was the worst one, wasn't it? That was the worst
I
one.
nearly lost the first time they played Salford.
Yeah,
So really, nearly
that's.
lost twice.
But I think it's been. I think it's been unacceptable, and yet they should have won the Challenge Cup.
Yeah,
They should have won the Challenge Cup. They blew it really with a
yeah.
mistake, and they would have won. That mistake doesn't happen. They win the Challenge Cup in the
And
last
that was
couple of
by their
minutes.
best
So,
player
yep.
in Ashton.
So I think, yeah, I think the only positives I would think, as we call them on our pod, the Thulai.
Yeah, through the
Yeah,
lines.
the brothers. Walker when he's come back and looked fit.
Now
Um,
finally pumping money into their academy.
yeah,
It's coming up for them. So
yeah,
that's good. They're having that state Lindop's class.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
apart from that, I think the one I do feel sorry for is Leon Hayes.
yeah. He's had
Um,
a torrid
come back and
year.
he broke his arm straight away, didn't he? So I feel
Got
sorry
the
for him.
number 7 shirt. He's just got no luck
Yeah.
at
So
the
I hope
minute.
he can come back and have a decent run and show people actually what he can do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
exactly.
awful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final two teams, we'll group them together so we can speed through it. Wakefield I predicted earlier in the year they'd be in and around playoffs. They followed in Lee's footsteps, hit playoff football after 1 year after promotion. Superb effort, recruitment been inspiring. They've unearthed a
Yeah.
real gem in Fertilli.
Yeah.
Wingers continue to do an amazing job. Good mix of youth and experience, the likes of McMeekin. Lino's really turned a corner now. He has a pack to bounce off the back of. I'd never rated Lino, but you know what? At 31 years of age, he's finally turned up.
Again, it's similar to we talked
B
about
plus.
Adrian Lamb. He's found a home,
Yes.
and I think that's important for people. He is being made to feel as though he's wanted. He's the number one.
Mm-hmm.
And that counts for a lot. I think with Wakefield, I'd give them a B. What did you say? B
B
plus.
plus. I did.
I'd give them the same. I think from a promoted team to make the playoffs, I think he's fantastic. I think there's a lot of similar experiences, as you said, to Lee. The ground is going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
They're making strides with the ground. And again, I've seen more plans this week
Yeah.
for extensions of stadiums. I think that's great. They've got a real community feel to the club. The fans have bought into what Darryl Powell's doing. I agree with you about the recruitment. I think they're going to go from strength to strength. And I would imagine them next year to be in a similar position of 5th or 6th. And I think that's
Yeah.
great building blocks from where they were. They've took that, similar to Hull KR, they've took that time in the Championship to really rebuild the club. And I think they've probably followed that Hull KR model, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And I
brilliant.
think
Well,
they've
well
done
done.
really well.
Well,
Big
well
up.
done to
Big
Wake.
up.
And
DIY
the
kits.
last thing about Wakefield, always have classy kits.
Always. Always the smartest kits.
Yeah.
It's so irritating from a fan of St. Helens that has all wacky sponsors and all
Yeah.
sorts. They always fit their sponsors to look class.
Home and
Everything's
away.
boss.
Nice, neat V's, usually white, and then the away kit's usually blue.
So
It's like
jealous.
lovely.
So jealous of the kits.
Yeah.
And yeah, superb DIY kitsings. Take your hats off. You've done a wonderful
Absolutely.
job.
Yeah.
Well, do it yourself. They did it. Hull FC finishing 7th. I've gone C plus. They've done miles better than what I expected. Cartwright, at the end of the day, if he can take the Titans to playoffs, he's a good coach. So
Yeah.
he brought in, bringing much needed discipline on and off the field. The culture seems to be shifting. Recruitment looks in full swing for the new season. All quota spots filled. Good domestic additions, the likes of Harvey Hill, Bell, Batchelor. Some of this year's recruits didn't really shine. The likes of Rapiner, for example, I thought he was shocking this
Yeah.
year. Real failure. Age probably came back to haunt him and probably caught up with him. Backline sees to have unrivaled potential with Barron, Martin, and Co. really shining. Love
Yeah.
the likes of Litton as well.
Yeah.
Litton's younger
I
brother, he
agree.
looks class. Price signing mid-season could be crucial. Him going to fullback potentially next year with Brad Arthur's son coming in, Jake. It's looking really good for them and good momentum.
Totally agree, particularly about the back line. I think Lewis has made the dream team. So
Martin.
brilliant. I think, yeah, so yeah, Lewis Martin, sorry, yeah. I think Barron has been exceptional, really making a place his own, because we saw the likes of them, didn't we, in cup matches last year away at Hull, didn't we? A couple of years ago. Excellent.
About 6'8". He's massive.
Yeah. But so they've been great. I agree with you about Litton, who I think is vastly underrated. I think he will shine. I've given them a C. The plus for them is last year they got 6 points. And I think so.
Still shocking at home though.
Yeah, and also they were never threatening, were they, to finish above 6th?
No.
They were never threatening top 5. If they were going to make the playoffs, it was 6th, and that's the way it turned out with a battle between them and Wakey. That's why I've given them a C, because they've improved a lot from last year. So to get whatever they finished with, 26, 27 points, whatever it was, from 6 points, the Hull faithful will be, I think they'll be overjoyed with that from where they were.
Absolutely.
And I think they can see. My concern for them going forward is whenever they sign anybody, they seem to be vastly experienced, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I think
over the hill. They've signed Harvey Hill, then they have over the hill.
There they go. And I think they've got that. And they've got, and I think the same with Batchelor and Bell as well, I think, to a certain extent.
I think Bell's got a little bit more in the tank.
Yeah, I think Rapiner has been one of the worst overseas signings that there's been. I think
Top
he's
10.
been awful. Yeah, definitely. So that concerns me, the age profile that they seem to go after. But whether that works with their younger backline, perhaps, remains to be seen. I think for next season, I don't have them in the playoffs next season with the recruitment that we've got. I think
we'll get to that in the new year.
Yeah, I think they drop next year. But I think for this year, I think it's been an easy ride for Cartwright, I think, in one respect, because he couldn't be any worse than last year. So whatever they've done is going to be a success for him. And the fans will go, yeah, look at that, we've done this now. I think next year will be a lot more difficult task for him.
Yeah. But did it with the Titans, he can certainly do it with Hull FC.
Exactly.
So, I think that's been a good summary.
Yeah.
Cheers for that. Slightly shorter second
thank
half,
you, mate.
but obviously we've been really having fun. Bit of a laugh,
Yep.
a few laughs and jokes. We'll be back in next week and in a couple of weeks as the finals grow on, playoffs go, and we will catch you then with a Leeds and Wire deep dive and a couple other episodes to go. Thanks for having us, Andy.
Can't wait. See you soon, mate.
See ya.